African American community is the only community that has the power in this country to change anything. They are the only one with the experience of civil matter. They are the only one que tenían el esclavo ahí mismitico. They are the only one that are not gonna get deported anywhere, and you cannot put them all in jail. So African American community, which is the community that is stepped on by Cubans, the most are the only ones that are going to save the Latinos. And I clap for the African American community that has not come out, because it is not. I do. We didn't do shit for them.
I get it, but I don't.
Me and you support, but in masses, we didn't support anything that was going with them. Latinos look at Cubans specifically. I'm not gonna talk about any other community because I'm not part of that community, even though I'm a Latina with them. Cubans talk shit about African Americans. Cubans did not support African Americans. Cubans think that they all victimize themselves, of this, all of that. African Americans are the only ones that are going to save your asses, Latinos. So you better start kissing. If you're gonna kiss some ass in this country, you better kiss some black ass.
To my Black Americans, my gorgeous Black men and women in America, I just want to say you guys are so fucking resilient. It's so shameful how dishonest our history books are about what happened in this country, what happened to Black Americans, how we treated people, and how this country came to be. It is so shameful. I finally am reading the 1619 Project. I've had it on my bookshelf for like a couple years, and I read a ton. And finally, I got into it, and it just... whew. The fact that when we wrote our Constitution, when white men wrote our Constitution and had the audacity to say that men are created equal, all men are created equal, while those same people writing those lines owned human beings, enslaved human beings, the hypocrisy is just fucking astounding. The way that these people are framed as heroes, despite the grotesque abuses that they committed, it is like insane and disgusting.
When white people see my posts about racism in America, frequently they say, I didn't know. When Black people see these comments, they say, we already know. There is no way you didn't know. Don't pretend you didn't. This disconnect is really hard to explain, and I've been trying to understand it myself. I'm going to be digging into this really deep because I think it's so important. It's not that we're just oblivious white people. It's that we've been groomed to be oblivious white people. People point out that it's not like this stuff is locked in some vault somewhere. It's available. You can see it. And that's true. But we were trained not to ask questions. We were trained not to look for it. And I see it in my family. I see it in my circle of friends, even some of my friends that are pretty progressive. We have this ingrained training to not ask too many questions. We were taught to trust authority figures, teachers, ministers, police officers, politicians, the anchor guy on the evening news. We believed them because we were groomed from childhood to believe that they were trustworthy. We were not taught that the system itself, the system they were part of, was designed to protect itself first. And frankly, it felt good just to trust them. It's like you had this permanent mommy and daddy figure. It made life feel safe. The gaps in white knowledge were filled in with lies. We were told that poor people were lazy, that's why they're poor. That crime existed in Black neighborhoods because they were Black neighborhoods. That broken families cause poverty. These ideas were not questioned. They were treated as common sense. And we were started with our grooming as infants, as little tiny babies, as little bitty kids that are impressionable and just forming our ideas about the world. So that was our social foundation. We were told that Black people can't keep their marriages together. I was even told that the reason they couldn't keep their marriages together was because of how they were treated during slavery. So out of one side of their mouth, they'd say, wasn't that horrible that families were split up during slavery? But now that has just become part of who they are. And so it's their fault. I don't know, it didn't make sense to me either. We also were not told that welfare benefits were not available if there was a man in the house, a Black woman working 2 jobs who still needed support to raise her children, could not have a husband or partner living in the house with her. And of course we were taught that that was their fault because they couldn't keep their marriages together. As we were growing up and we started to repeat these beliefs, we were seen as respectful and well-adjusted. I don't know, are you getting pissed off? I'm getting pissed off just going through this again. We were guided by the TV news and movies and TV shows to care when white people suffered and to disconnect from the pain of other people. We were taught to feel patriotic about our country without questioning whether they were being truthful with us about why we should feel such patriotism. When we asked those white authority figures that we were taught to trust, we were lied to. Now, when Black people give us honest answers, we don't fully trust them. It's not about ignorance, it's about conditioning. My education is in behavior analysis, and that's how that works. You just expose someone to a social system that supports a certain line of thinking, and you fall for it, especially if you are started out as a young kid being taught all that stuff. And that's what happens to all of us. We were taught that silence is polite and that truth about society is rude or inappropriate. And as a girl that went to a fundamentalist Christian church, that was even more so. You don't ask questions that are going to make people uncomfortable. But that comfort, you see, it kept us obedient. It kept us from asking too many questions. It kept us from wanting to do anything about it because we didn't fully understand that there was something that needed to be done. We were used to preserve a system that depended on our own silence. It kept us from befriending Black people. It kept us from knowing what the hell we thought we knew about those people. So when white people say, I didn't know about any of this, understand what that really means. We were trained not to look. We were trained to believe the stories that we were told by the authority figures. We were shaped by a system that used your trust against you. We were trained to look away. And now we have a choice. White people, we need to get angry about being kept in the dark all these years so that together with our Black neighbors and neighbors of all races, we can break down this oppressive system that has brought us here to the point of fascism. Check the caption for some documentaries to help you get started learning. We need to really get curious.
You ever seen a photo of a little white girl, blonde, fair skin, light eyes, and been told she was enslaved? Meet Mary Mildred Williams, the child who made white America do a double take because she shattered the fantasy that slavery only touched Black-looking people. She was born in Virginia in 1847, legally enslaved, but physically, she looked like a white child because generations of assault, rape, and breeding in slavery had erased her Blackness from the surface. But not from the law. The law still said 1 drop of Black blood and you're property. So after her father managed to buy her freedom, abolitionists saw something in her story, something unsettling. They realized that if white Northerners weren't moved by stories of Black pain, maybe they'd be shocked by white proximity. So they put Mary on display. Photos, public lectures, tours. Senators and white families lined up to see the white slave child. Not because they cared about slavery, but because they finally saw themselves in it. So let's be clear, Mary wasn't free because she escaped. She wasn't free because the law made it right. She was free because her father bought her. and because her appearance made white people squirm. And while they used her as an abolitionist tool, they never questioned the system that created her. They never asked how many white men had to exploit Black women just for this child to exist. They didn't want truth. They wanted shock value. Mary Mildred Williams forced America to look in the mirror. And what they saw was a system so vile, it blurred the lines between enslaved and enslaver, between Black and white, between victim and spectacle. She didn't just look like a white child. She looked like the lie that they built this country on. And that was the real scandal. Say her name. Mary Mildred Williams.
I don't think there's anybody more patriotic than a Black person.
How so?
I mean, we've been here since the inception of this idea of what American is. We are deeply ingrained in the fabric of this country. This country would not be if it was not for us. So I have to claim that patriotism. Otherwise, I'm just handing it over to somebody to give me the definition of what it means to be American. But I know what the definition of what it means to be American is, and I'm the definition of an American.
We don't write our history. It has always been handed down to us orally by our elders. Of course, the white man came and he writes history. In fact, you don't know anything about any place until the white man gets there. Until the white man comes to any place, nothing lives. It's only when he comes and says, "Boof, I've discovered you, now you exist," which is ridiculous.
Black people are the cool. They
make things cool.
They're the culture drivers of America without
Cultural
question.
filters,
In
for
some
sure.
ways, I guess that's, maybe ancient Greece. What's democracy if not the original hip hop? How everything filtered out from that. Kind of, the same way.
Love it when you call me Big Son.
The same way music's been taking from Black people forever. Everyone's kind of been taking our shit between philosophy and democracy.
This video is very interesting of this Mexicana, this Mexican woman who moved back to her country, Mexico City, a year ago. And she says, you know what I really miss about America? African Americans, Black Americans. She misses Black Americans.
One of the things that I miss the most about the United States is African American people.
I loved it. I was like, she was very complimentary. I thought her video was wonderful. And she said, I miss it. I mean, even though she moved back to Mexico, she's like, I like this Mexican, but I need some funk in my life. Because here's the reason. She says she loved the culture, the language, the dance, all of that. Because you just proved Black Americans, I'm Nigerian American, Black Americans built America. Black American culture is why America has swag. Blues, jazz, rock and roll, rock, country, bluegrass. Every genre of American music is created by Black folks, American Blacks, who were oppressed, slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, redlining, being degraded every day, but they were still able to come up with the coldest music you've ever heard, which is played around the world. Everybody copies it. Every country I go to, they're doing rap, whether it's Chinese rap, Japanese rap, Swedish rap, everywhere I go. I saw Turkish rap. I see all these countries, Arabic rap, rapping, doing black culture. Of course, all cultures are copied, and influenced from, but Black American culture is the most copied, the coolest on the planet, period. Everybody copies Black Americans. And that's what she's missing, because she knows that Mexican music cannot with Black music. And don't get me wrong, I like Mexican music. I love mariachis, I love all of that. I love music from all over the world, even Nigerian music, of course, but nothing with Black culture, all right? Tell me, who's with Earth, Wind, and Fire? Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, James Brown. I could just name them. I could line up all Black American artists against any other race's artist, and you will get dusted the off. So I just want to say, muchas gracias to the Mexicana, muchas gracias, and viva la Mexico, and all of that good stuff. But I really appreciated that, because that's what a lot of people feel. They miss Black And the fact that you miss black people and were complimenting them, because a lot of times people like to dog black people when black people aren't around. They figure, let's make fun of them. But you actually complimented them. That's a big deal. And you Mexican people are like, well, why do you miss them? You don't like your Mexican people? You know that might happen. But I really appreciate that. Adios.
It might hurt some feelings, but guess what? The black people living in the Americas are the chosen people of God. Shalom. My name is Ronette Brooks, and before I get started, I want to say all praises to the Most High. I am a Gentile, and it is very important because I know that Israelites that are in the truth and know who they are going to be hearing my voice. This is not about me, but I do want you to know enough about me that you can know a small piece of my heart. I have known who so-called African Americans are in the United States since 2019. The Most High allowed me to know that they were the tribe of Judah. I've learned since then that it might be some Benjamites in there and some Levites, but all I want to say is I am here with a humble heart, and I am infinitely in awe because I know that I'm speaking to the light of the world.
All right, I'm gonna stop her right there. How does her and people like her know that we are the children of Israel, but you don't know that? How does she know we are the light of the world, but you don't know that? How does she know that if you're out here condemning people to hell, you're gonna end up right in that same pit with them, but you don't know that? I want y'all to think about it.
With the light that I have now, as a white woman who leads a black-led sport and celebrated here, I want to show a light on black women. They don't get the media coverage that they deserve. They've given so much to this sport and the community and society as a whole, and their value is undeniable. And in the WNBA, last season, the postseason awards, 80% of the winners were black, but they got half the amount of coverage as the white athletes. So I think it's time for change. I think we should use this power together to also celebrate black women. So to Maria Taylor, Robin Roberts, Maya Moore, Odyssey Alexander, to all the incredible black women in my life on my teams, to Breonna Taylor and all the lives lost, and to those names who have not yet learned, but I hope to share, I stand behind you, and I'll continue to follow you and follow your lead and fight for you guys. So I just want to say thank you for everything.
I'm a racist in recovery. If you haven't seen me before, hi, my name's Janelyn. I have been talking about how I was born and raised in the Deep South, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, raised to be a racist, and how I've been dismantling that for the last 15 years. If you like this content, give me a follow. If you have any comments or questions, please put it in the comments. I will respond to it. If you have any particular topics that you want me to talk about, leave those in the comments. Let's talk about white privilege. I think a lot of white people don't want to accept this concept. I get it. I get why. Like, I'm thinking, I don't have white privilege. I haven't had anything handed to me. I've worked for everything I have. I have worked my ass off, and life has not been easy. I've been through a lot of shit. I get that. But what white privilege is not, it's not having your life handed to you on a silver platter. It doesn't mean you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't mean that you haven't worked really hard. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced loss or failure. It doesn't mean that you haven't had significant obstacles to overcome. It simply means that the color of your skin did not add to those struggles. And I think this goes hand in hand with recognizing and admitting that we have systemic racism.
Let me tell you something, bro. Nothing is more aggravating and irritating. Dear white people, nothing is more aggravating and keeps up this whole trope that we are victims in 2025 and beyond as of the recording of this video than to see you guys up here always talking about stuff that is not relevant to anything that is going on right here, right now. She's talking about, well, the color of your skin didn't add to your struggles. What does that have to do with anything or the price of tea in China? All y'all doing, if y'all don't already know, is you're continuously keeping this whole narrative up that has black people thinking that they are struggling more than anybody else, which basically sets them at a disadvantage because they go into everything as a victim Olympian and thinking that the whole world is against them instead of doing what it is that they need to do in order to be successful. You're basically giving people an excuse as to why they can be substandard or why they feel like they didn't get a job or why they feel like they didn't get the opportunity that they wanted. And so instead of people excelling and becoming successful and being more and
This Black History Month, I want to remind a lot of people that Black Americans are the reason that we're legally here. Those of us that were born to migrants or descendants of migrants, we have citizenship because of the efforts of Black Americans. Historical figures like Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth were instrumental to passing the 14th Amendment. And why is the 14th Amendment so important? Because it grants citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the United States.
40 million black people in America are the role models for 1.8 billion black people in the world. When we say something's cool, it's cool in Tibet. When we say something's a dud, it's a dud in North Korea. We have mastered culture, community, and cool and creativity, yes or no? So now all we have to do is switch, become bilingual, and master capitalism, commerce, and a new community. Don't go from rocking the mic to owning it. So I want you just to shift your brain. In other words, you are the capital. You already have what you need. When you walk in a room, you are unique. Everybody wants to be you, except they don't want to be black.
So this is the 85-15 program where 85% of your average monthly income outside of bills, utilities, and savings are going into black American-owned business, and 15% is going to other communities, right? Because Black Wall Street wasn't Black Wall Street because we have other people in our communities taking our money and taking it into their respective countries. It was Black Wall Street because we kept the money within the community and shot within ourselves. We are the last ones in the last 65 years to do our own group economics, and now it's time to kind of follow suit and do our group economics. So stay tuned for the new framework called the 85-15 program that I created. Look forward to bringing that out to the community. I love y'all. Peace, a lot, your key, Nita, be safe.